Hold up, I am on my way, I'm in motion. Let's go to the ocean. Yeah, let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing.
Welcome to Crafty Beach. This is Julie. Today I have 20 St. Patrick's Day Dollar Tree DIYs for you. I have a little bit of everything in today's video, including a St. Patrick's Day tier tray. I wanted to do a wreath for a St. Patrick's Day, but I wanted to do a really easy one. So we're going to be using the 14-inch wire wreath form from Dollar Tree and some of their burlap rolls, some of their shamrocks, and some of their felt garland. I actually got this at the party aisle, but I think it's going to be great to make a little rainbow pennant garland for this wreath. Now, I wanted to use burlap in a lot of the DIYs today, so I thought we would do a burlap wreath for this one. So I'm going to start here on the back of my frame, and I'm just going to use a little hot glue to get us started and lay the burlap roll right on there at an angle. I love this rolled burlap from the Dollar Tree. Whenever I see it, I always try to stock up on it. I'm going to overlap it slightly, but just enough to kind of not create a gap or to not be able to see through it. And this is how easy this wreath is. I told you these DIYs were going to be easy. It's just a matter of wrapping this. You could do this with the green foam wreath form from the Dollar Tree, but I thought it was going to be too small for this project, and I'm glad that I went larger because I was able to fit in everything I wanted to do on this St. Patrick's Day wreath. Now, my burlap roll was almost long enough, but not quite. Maybe if I hadn't overlapped so much, I might have been able to be able to make it, but I just went ahead and cut it so that I could start and stop on the back where you won't be able to see it. So I just glued the end that I cut to my new roll of burlap just like that. And then I can continue the last couple rounds around. And then I'm going to cut it down and glue it to the back again for my final piece. And I wasn't sure if you'd be able to see through the burlap on the wire, but I was actually pretty happy with the coverage on this. And I want to do like a fun little rainbow pennant banner along the top. And I thought this felt garland from the Dollar Tree would be perfect because it's got rainbow colors already. So it's actually got some extra colors that I don't need, but it's got red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple. You can use purple. I did not have enough room on mine, so I actually stopped at blue. Now, I want it to be like a mini pennant banner, so I'm going to actually take advantage of the shape of these and just cut one at a diagonal like that, and it's going to give me a perfect little triangle to make a little pennant banner. And then I'm going to do the same thing on all of these. That way I can save the excess felt there if I need to do another project, but this took a lot of the guesswork out of creating a triangle. I just had to make one cut to get this. So I'm just going through my different colors of the rainbow, cutting those all down to size. I want this to have like a little rainbow pennant banner up in one corner and then shamrocks down in the other corner. You can always add some gold to yours as well if you wanted to, but today I was kind of steering away from gold on some of my DIYs, leaning more towards like green, burlap, and rainbows. So now I'm just going to cut down some twine from the Dollar Tree to make that little pennant banner. And I'm going to start here on one end and just hot glue. I'm going to start with the red one. I'm not really going to measure these. I'm going to kind of like just space those out a little bit. And I'm just going to simply hot glue the felt to the twine. A super easy little pennant banner, but it's going to work well to string across the top of this little wreath. And I think this wreath would be sturdy enough to hold up outdoors, depending on your weather. I think I might put mine outdoors, but it'd be really cute in your entryway as well. And again, I only had room for red, orange, yellow, green, and blue. So that is what I'm going to do for mine, and then cut down the twine to size. I want to string it here where it kind of just hangs on the left side like that. So I'm going to actually flip it over and attach the twine to the burlap on the back so I can kind of hide that and it can just drape over like that. Just like that, easy peasy. I'm not going to attach a hanger on this. I'm actually able to use the wreath form for a hanger itself. But if I do put it outside, I might need to put one on there. Now, these are the little shamrocks from the Dollar Tree. These are the ones without the glitter. I think they have these plain ones, but they also have the ones with the glitter. We'll be using those today as well, too. And I just pulled them off. So the little stem stays in the middle, but they have like a little tiny stub on there. But it worked well because I could hot glue that down into the burlap. If it's too long, you can trim it down a little bit. And that's what I did there. So as you can see, I'm just kind of alternating and I'm working opposite, the opposite corner of where we did that little rainbow garland. And I'm just kind of staggering them. So I started with 2 and then I went one up, one down. And then on this side and on this side, I'm going to kind of repeat that one that's a little closer to the center. And this was so easy to do. If you can't find this plant, you could always cut down some green felt into little shamrocks as well. That would be super cute. And I did a couple more there at the bottom to fill that out. And this is how it turned out. I told you it was going to be an easy St. Patrick's Day wreath. And I think it's really cute and classic looking. I really love the burlap wreath and then just the pop of the little rainbow pennant banner and the clovers down below. Definitely says St. Patrick's Day, but it's also a very kind of minimalist wreath DIY. But I think it turned out really cute and it was so easy to put together with supplies from the Dollar Tree. Hey guys, if you're enjoying today's video, be sure to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I would really appreciate it if you would hype today's video. For the next St. Patrick's Day Dollar Tree DIY, we're just going to use some of their decals. They have some really nice window decals, even if they don't have a lot of crafting items this year. And I picked up a Dollar Tree square wood sign. I love these signs. This one doesn't have the frame, which I kind of prefer this one. And you can stain these. So I'm just going to go over it with some antique wax by Waverly. I want more of a medium stain, so I don't want to put too much on there. Once I get that on there, I go and follow that up with a baby wipe and just spread that around, staining that. I think that'll be a nice background for one of those little window decals, and they're so cute. They're have a little gold glitter on there, but I think that's really pretty for St. Patrick's Day. I also went ahead and stained the wood beads on here. Spoiler though, I end up not wanting them on there and I do remove them, but I did stain them in this process. You can stain them like this without taking them off, just using a baby wipe to kind of spread out the stain and kind of get in between the individual pieces of wood beads. And this is the one we're going to use. This one says Lucky and Blessed. It's got a little pot of gold. I think it's so cute. And I've got a few more ideas to make this really fun. So the first thing I do is just do a thin layer of Mod Podge all over the sign. And the reason I go all over is because I don't want any difference in sheen between the decal and the sign itself, where I kind of start and stop. And then I just lay the decal right on top. If you have any like little dots of dust or anything like that, you will be able to feel that. You'll get a little bit of a bump on that, but it's flexible with the Mod Podge. You can kind of pull it up and remove that. I just use a paper towel to smooth it out and try to avoid any bubbling or anything like that. It was slightly bigger than my sign, but not much. I just cut off the little tiny pieces that were overlapping the edge. And I did think about cutting the green border off, but I decided it really wasn't that distracting. And then I'm going to go over the whole thing again with more matte Mod Podge. This is going to seal it in, and even though it's matte finish and I'm going over glitter, it doesn't tone it down too much. It still has a little bit of a sparkle when it dries. Then for some fun confetti, I picked up some little coin confetti at the Dollar Tree, and it's got rainbows, coins, and little pot of golds, and I thought that would be fun to add to it. That's when I decided I didn't like the hanger too much, so I'm going to replace that with just some plain twine. But I do want to use these coins to decorate this. And aren't these cute? There's different size gold coins. They're very like lightweight, made out of foil almost, but I think they'd be really great to add little coins all over the rest of the sign to kind of go with the theme. And then this is just me replacing the hanger. I just take some twine, knot it, and staple it on the back, just so I didn't have those wood beads kind of competing with the project here. And I'm just going to kind of scatter them all over. I'm going to use some of the larger ones, some of the smaller ones, a variety, and add them all over. They are like so lightweight and made out of foil that I think they would melt if you tried to hot glue them on. So the way that I'm going to attach them is with some tacky glue from the Dollar Tree. I thought that would definitely be strong enough to attach them, yet it's not going to melt them, so you can still see like the little coin faces and stuff on them. And I just want to kind of scatter those all around the sign. I'm really glad I decided to add these to this project because it really made the project a lot better and gave it some more bling. And of course, you got to have lots of gold coins for St. Patrick's Day, a little bit of treasure. One thing about the window decals, at least they're spelled right. I know a lot of the St. Patrick's Day signs I've gotten at Dollar Tree in the past, they have misspelled Patrick for some reason. But this is how it turned out. I think it's so cute. Lucky and blessed. It's not too large. You could probably fit this about anywhere. And this is a great project if your Dollar Tree is like mine this year, where they have very little St. Patrick's Day stuff. See if you can find some window clings, because you can definitely make some signs, some larger signs like this that you can hang on the wall, but also you can make like some smaller ones for a tier tray or something like that. I really love the gold coins. They're my favorite. Our next DIY, we're going to start with one of these little tinsel shamrocks from the Dollar Tree. You guys know I love to use the tinsel products basically as I like the cage underneath, because I can always DIY with it. Now, this has like a lot of tinsel wrapped around it, so you kind of have to take your time. You can cut it. I found that this one was so tightly woven, it was almost easier just to unwind it than to cut it. Like a lot of times on the cages, it's easier just to cut it. But this one, you got to just kind of take your time and just take it all off. And of course, it's going to make a little bit of a mess. So just going around that last section of that last leaf. And then what I want to do is use that cage to make a rope shamrock with that nautical rope from the Dollar Tree in white. It's going to look very coastal with the white rope, but it could also go with for other decorating styles as well. After much effort, we have a plain cage. This is the rope I'm going to use. It is the 6 foot, so it is the fairly thick white rope. I love decorating with this. You can make just about anything with the Dollar Tree rope, the white or the brown. So I'm just going to cut off the tape on the end and we can start decorating with this. Now I'm working on a silicone mat, so what I'm going to use is hot glue to glue that down. I don't really have to worry about it sticking on anything because it won't stick to the silicone mat. And so I'm going to start with the stem first, do a bead of hot glue, and that rope covers the cage really nicely. And then I'm going to use that same piece and go up and go ahead and do the top leaf of the shamrock, just gluing that down. And that wide rope really worked well because it hid all of those tabs on the cage. I didn't really have to cut those off or anything, yet this like covered it nicely. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it off there. That looks like a good place to cut it, and glue that down. And then we can use the rest of the rope to cover the other leaves. So just starting right here along the stem, I'm going to just go around and glue around in that heart shape. I always forget that hearts make perfect shamrocks and that I put away all of my Valentine's Day DIY stuff. And then I'm like, why did I put that away? I can use that to make shamrocks. Gluing down that leaf, and then we're going to go ahead and do the same thing with the next one. Now, I'm not going to just leave it like this, but you totally could. You totally could just have a rope shamrock, and you could do a lot of different things with that. You could hang it on a door, hang it on your wall. I'm going to go ahead and layer it on another sign just to kind of make it a more finished project and kind of add to it a little bit. Now, as you can see, the hot glue gets a little messy on the back, but what I'm going to do is just melt it with my heat gun. And then I wanted to use some of this ombre tote bag. You guys have seen me use it before. I've used the pink part of this bag actually for one of my Valentine's Day DIYs. Using the pink, it looked like a pink fishnet for a background for some XOXO letters. But this time what I want to use is like the ivory part. And I love this. I think this makes a great fishnet to craft with. That fishing net that they carry every summer at the Dollar Tree is like a really big fishing net. I don't find it works very well for crafting with, but I love this. If you see these bags, pick them up. They are so versatile. And what I'm going to do is just cover the back of each leaf with the fishing net, just gluing that down around the edges, and then I can trim up all the excess later. I'm just using some of those silicone cake tools from the Dollar Tree to spread that out. And that way I also don't burn myself with the hot glue. And it's just going to be a nice leaf background with that. I think that's going to match with the rope really well. So then once I get it glued down, I'm just using my scissors to cut that as close to the frame as I can so that you can't see any of the excess. And then what I'm going to do is continue using that bag, that same exact bag, to cover the rest of it. When you kind of like cut all the fabric out around the handles, you can get quite a bit of fabric. You can kind of stretch it. As you can see, that one still has a little bit of pink on it, but I'm just going to kind of glue it down and cut it out to size, and you won't be able to see any of that. I wish it was all white. That would be really cool. And if you can't find that, you could also use like the little mats that go underneath the rugs, the rug liners, would really kind of work well for that too, about the same size of netting. Now the sign that I'm going to layer it on is one of these chalkboards from the Dollar Tree. I love crafting with these because they're a great size. They're really sturdy. They don't bow. They're rather thick. And so I thought this was going to be just about the right size for a St. Patrick's Day DIY. It does have all of this chalkboard writing on the back, and so I'm just going to use some cheap Dollar Tree contact paper just to cover the back, just to give me a more finished product. Whenever your back looks nice, I think your DIYs look nicer. So I'm just going to poke some holes in there and then use a sanding sponge from the Dollar Tree to cut off all the excess. This contact paper is pretty thick, so it cuts really well with that. And I've been having trouble finding the sanding sponges at the Dollar Tree for months and months and months. And now suddenly all of my Dollar Trees have started getting them back in stock. Thank goodness, I really needed some new ones. Now I'm going to work on the back since it is a nice blank canvas. The only issue with these chalkboards is always trying to get that tag off the back. So using some heat and a scraper to try to get that off. And then it does kind of leave like a sticky residue, so I'm going to use a little Goo Gone on there as well. And we have a nice blank canvas. Now I'm going to cover this with burlap as a background, but I didn't really want the background, like, you know, you can kind of see through the burlap because it has holes in it. I didn't want that to be black. I wanted it to be green for St. Patrick's Day. So I'm just using Christmas green color and just giving a very quick, easy coat over the back just to kind of make it have a green background. It probably wasn't necessary, but it was just a little extra step that made me love this project even more. And so I'm just going to use a scrap piece of burlap I have. I like to buy the burlap at Walmart. It's really inexpensive, like $2 and something a yard. And oh my gosh, you can use it for just about anything. I'm going to Mod Podge mine down. Since I'm using fabric, I'm doing a rather thick layer of Mod Podge. And then I'm going to simply lay the burlap down. It is a little bit larger than I need, but I can always go ahead and trim that up later. Just making sure it is smooth and glued down. Now, if you look really closely at it, you can see the green background. See? That's what I was talking about. And I think that's going to make a really fun background for that little rope shamrock that we made. I just have to cut off the excess burlap. And burlap is very forgiving too. You know, if you get it cut fairly close, you can kind of pull out some threads and kind of make it look like it's supposed to be frayed instead of not wanting it to be frayed. just using my sharpest fabric scissors. A lot of you guys have asked about these scissors. They are, what is the name of them? Singer fabric scissors. And they are really sharp. They work really good. I actually got them at my local grocery store. But I think I have them in my Amazon shop because I think they do have them on Amazon as well. So as you can see, the shamrock fits really nicely on this size sign. And I'm just going to start attaching it with hot glue to the burlap sign. Kind of centering it. It's okay if it hangs off the sides a little bit. But I'm just kind of gluing one section at a time to make sure that my hot glue doesn't set up before I move on to the next section. Now I'm just going to glue down my leaves. I want this to be flat on there and attached, all of it glued down. And again, you could use this rope shamrock without a sign behind it, but I really kind of liked the layered look and the contrast it gave me with that like fishing net behind the rope. So we got that all glued down. I did have a little spot over to the left that didn't really have anything there. I thought that was a great opportunity to make like a little sign just to personalize this a little bit. So what I'm going to use is some of this craft wood from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to cut that wood down to size to give me a perfect size sign for this. And this is the craft wood that I'm using. I'm just going to take it to my saw and cut it down to size, give it a quick sand. Then I thought we would paint this green and make just a cute little St. Patrick's Day sign, just to kind of fill that area. So I'm using that same Christmas green acrylic paint and doing one coat over that raw wood. I'm also going to go over it with some ivory and a chunky brush and just distress it slightly to kind of go with my coastal farmhouse vibe. And then if you want your sign to look really good, you can use your Cricut. I am just going to use my white Sharpie paint pen and do a script Lucky on there, just kind of making the letters go off the sides. Super easy. You could do whatever kind of a font you want. I just kind of wanted to do a cursive on this. I'm just kind of filling in any areas that got missed by my paint pen. And we have a cute little sign here to go on the front of our shamrock. I like the white Sharpie paint pens. I think they work pretty well. I have been using some other ones that are available in my Amazon shop that I like even better, I think. They do work pretty well. And I didn't think I had it distressed enough, so once I get it on there, I'm going to distress it a little bit more heavily with the ivory. Wiping off the excess with a baby wipe until it looks nice and distressed. Now I'm just going to attach that to the burlap with some hot glue. Super cute and a functional space over there to put something. Now to give it a little bit of a coastal touch, I thought a starfish would be great. These are some real starfish. I get these on Amazon. They are available in my shop. But if you have some from the Dollar Tree, that would be really cute as well. You might need to give them a coat of ivory first. These are kind of already that bleached ivory color. And then I'm just going to reattach the hanger by poking a hole through all the fabric and stuff that I had on there. And just using some twine to tie that off. Again, just tying the knot in the front. And that's all there is to this DIY. I think it turned out really cute. I love the little starfish touch on there. And I love all of the little coastal vibes to this. What do you guys think about this one? Here it is, our little rope shamrock. I love it. Just taking one of those cheap Tinsel signs from the Dollar Tree that are kind of a dime a dozen, making it really cute with some nautical rope from the Dollar Tree. And even if you don't have the wreath form, I think it'd be easy enough to do like the heart shapes with your rope, and pairing it with burlap that's always my favorite way to do a coastal DIY. The next DIY, we're going to make a wall hanging using one of these great wooden and galvanized metal shamrocks from the Dollar Tree, one of the Dollar Tree round signs, and one of their burlap bags. So we're going to start with this sign first. I do want to replace the beads on here than just the raw beads. And I kind of want to do a rainbow theme, and I found a really cool like rainbow wood beads at the Dollar Tree. So I just kind of disconnected mine from one side so that I can pull those off and change those beads out. Now, this is the perfect size to go on the little round sign from the Dollar Tree, but I do want to add a little burlap to it as well. So I just went ahead and removed the hanger from the little galvanized metal sign. Those are so cute. And then I'm just going to use one of little Dollar Tree faux burlap bags. I'm going to cut the front panel off of one to give me a little piece of fabric that's just the right size to cover this wood round. And I want to cover the wood round with this so that the shamrock has like a burlap background. I love working with these little synthetic burlap bags like this from the Dollar Tree because they cut so easily and they don't fray at all. So I just flipped it over. It kind of has like a plastic side on the inside. And I just laid it right on my frame since I have that round frame that I kind of have to work around. And I just used an ink pen to sketch out the size. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I don't want it to be too tight up against the frame because those round frames are always off a little bit. And so I want it to be able to fit in there flat. So as you can see, it is so easy to cut this and you get a perfectly clean cut just like that. So that's going to be the background for this round sign. Just like that, it's just a matter of attaching it, and we're going to do that with some Mod Podge. So I'm going to do a rather thick coat because I am gluing down like that plastic liner on the back of the burlap. But I've never really had trouble with it. It's just that it might need a little bit more glue and a little bit more time to dry that out. I just smoothed mine down with a paper towel to try to dry up any glue that might have came out of the sides, and then used a sanding sponge to kind of clean up that frame a little bit. It wasn't too bad. And then I want the shamrock to go on it just like that. Isn't that so cute? Now to fill the holes in it and to help hold it to the sign, I'm going to use just some plain Dollar Tree thumbtacks in the silver color that's going to match with the galvanized metal. But I'm going to use hot glue to get it started. I know hot glue and metal doesn't always work well together, so the combination of the hot glue and the thumbtacks is actually going to make it a little bit sturdier. So I just did hot glue on the little rails that are going down that's going to attach to our burlap and lay that right on top. Try not to burn yourself though, that metal gets really hot. And then I am going to use my thumbnails. I'm going to have to use a hammer to be able to hammer this into the wood sign. And the great thing about this is that the silver thumbtacks match, blends in well. It's going to cover that hole, those two holes that I don't need, but it's also going to be functional to hold that onto the sign. It's looking really good. You can add a word to it if you wanted to, but I'm just going to kind of leave mine as a shamrock. Now, this is the rainbow would-be garland that I found at Dollar Tree. I actually just found this like in the regular aisle, not necessarily St. Patrick's Day. But the colors are rainbow, but they're like a little muted. Like there's no orange or anything like that. And I don't really think I need white. So I'm going to kind of do my own thing here with the colors that I have. But I like these muted rainbow colors. It goes nicely with that shamrock because the shamrock itself is kind of a lighter green color. My twine on there did want to fray a little bit, so I just put a little hot glue there on the end to make that a little easier. And I just did blue, green, yellow, and red. And then I'm going to go ahead and repeat that rainbow one more time. Again, I don't have all the colors of the rainbow, but I kind of like what I have. So I did 2 of the red, yellow, green, blue. And then I'm going to go ahead and reattach this hanger on the back, just kind of adding a staple where one was before, and a little hot glue on the end of my twine to try to help that stay in place. And this is how it turned out. Another easy St. Patrick's Day DIY wall hanging. How cute is this? I think that rainbow beads are a nice surprise there at the top. And this is definitely like more of a traditional St. Patrick's Day decor with the green shamrock with the little galvanized metal shamrock behind it. I love that. Pairing it with a little burlap is super cute, but then I love the fact that we added the rainbow beads to the top as well. I think it really finished this off, and such a cute, easy DIY. I'm going to use one of these little wood shamrocks from the Dollar Tree. This is just the plain one that doesn't have anything on it. It is slightly a different shape, but it's pretty similar to the one that has the little bump outs. Then I thought we would just make a DIY stain using some brown paint from the Dollar Tree, kind of mixing that half and half with just water. I kind of wanted to show you what these wood pieces from the Dollar Tree would look like if you don't have access to Antique Wax by Waverly. Pretty similar, and it kind of gave me kind of a warmer brown color, this color from the Dollar Tree, but it actually worked out pretty well. So I just go over the whole thing, kind of working in one direction, and then I go over the top of that with a baby wipe and wipe off the excess stain. And look how pretty that wood grain is. Super easy. I don't use Dollar Tree paint a lot, but sometimes you can find a good shade and have good success with it. It's kind of thin, so it kind of works well for a stain like that. Then we're going to use 3 of these little galvanized metal heart trays from the Dollar Tree. These are from the Crafter Square. They're not just for Valentine's Day. They have them at my Dollar Trees year-round, and so I picked up 3 of these. See how they fit perfectly on the leaves for the shamrock? I thought we could do something really cool with these. So I'm just going to attach them to our little wood shamrock with hot glue. The wood shamrock itself is kind of a little bit flimsy, but when you add these little metal trays to it, definitely made it a stronger, like more substantial piece. So I'm just going to do that with all 3. I've heard that you can't hot glue these metal pieces, but I never have any trouble. I do use the Gorilla Glue hot glue. It's available in my Amazon shop below. Also, sometimes I'm able to pick it up at Walmart. But works really well for these kind of things. The reason I stain the shamrock, even though most of it's going to be covered, is just because you can see around the edges a little bit. It's a little bit larger than the heart, so I didn't want that like raw wood to be back there. I wanted to kind of have like a stained wood background. But this is going to hold it all together. Then I thought I would take some of this reindeer moss from the Dollar Tree, and we can fill up the little heart-shaped metal pans with that. It's going to give us like a mossy shamrock feeling, and I think it looks kind of cool. I'm kind of doing mine more like a seaweed kind of thing, but it doesn't matter. It can kind of match with different decors. So I just do about half of a leaf at a time there, just by putting down hot glue and then carefully gluing that down in there. Make sure you don't burn yourself. I'm just trying to cover most of the bottom to get that like leaf shape for the shamrock. Not too full. I don't want to waste too much reindeer moss, but just trying to get that heart shape filled in. Now we're going to do the same thing here on the other 2 leaves. Whenever I buy the reindeer moss from the Dollar Tree, I always try to kind of like check to see if it's a little bit wet. You can tell by feeling through the package. I find it's easier to work with if when it was packaged, it was a little bit damp. It makes it more malleable. It kind of makes it prettier too. Because sometimes it's really like dried out and clumped together. So make sure you feel your reindeer moss before you buy it. Just a tip. They also have a different kind of moss right now too. I can't remember what it's called. It's a brighter color green. I did pick up some of it, but I kind of wanted to use this earthy color of green for this. So just the regular reindeer moss and just piecing that in there. You can always patch any areas that you need to, or if you have any hot glue that you can see, you can kind of melt it if you have a heat gun. Now, I was trying to determine what I could do for the stem of the shamrock, and I thought I would do something coastal, so I'm going to use some of this Dollar Tree rope. This is the 6 foot, like white nautical rope from the Dollar Tree, and I thought if I like double it up, it would be about the right width of the stem, and we could do like a coastal rope stem for it. Something that's going to stick out from that background sign because the pans, are a little bit thick and substantial. So I'm just going to take the tape off the end. I cut this piece down, and then I'm going to cut it in half to form 2 little ropes to fit in there. Now, I don't want them to be white, though, because that's not really going to go with the green shamrock feel. I really want them to be green. I didn't think that I could paint them very easily to get really good coverage, so I thought maybe I could try to make my own, like, dye, kind of dye them. It kind of ended up more like a a paint on there, but let me show you what I ended up doing. Sometimes, yeah, just got to be creative. So I take a cup of water, a little bit of water in there, and I thought I'd make a DIY stain. So the only colors of green I had was like a Christmas green and like a leafy green. So I'm going to mix those together. Just kind of go from there to try to get a color kind of close that the green that we used for the reindeer moss. And it was way too bright, I thought. So I'm just going to start adding some black acrylic paint to it too, to try to darken it up. Kind of like mixing paint colors, but I was trying to mix a stain color. Now, what I didn't realize though is that it didn't really mix with the water real well. Maybe I used too much paint. That's probably it, because it ended up more of a paint feel. But I did add a little bit of brown as well to try to give me that earthy color, and I got it pretty close, right? So then I thought we could just take the Dollar Tree rope and dip it in the cup to dye the rope. It does work, but not really what I intended. Again, I think I probably used too much paint, but I'm going to put my first one in there. And you can see it kind of turned out like kind of a camo, kind of modeled. Little green specks, brown specks, black specks. I kind of liked it though. I thought it looked very cool, like an old green nautical rope that's been used and abused in the sea. So it's really wet at this point, so I am just going to use my heat gun to try to speed this up. If you don't have a heat gun, I would really advise buying one. They're only about $10. I have one available in my Amazon shop below, but you could always use a blow dryer because these things are wet. Otherwise, you're going to have to let them sit for a long time. So kind of messy at this point too, especially if you're handling them. You're gonna get like paint all over your hands. I dried them and then I put them in my hands and I dry them again. As you can see, I'm getting paint all over my hand, but I kind of wanted to blend the little camo pattern that was in there a little bit. Next time I try this technique, I'm sure I'll try it again. I'll try to use less paint and more water. Maybe that would mix better and give me more of a stain, because this is more of like one of those mixing paint with water kind of effects, I think. But it worked. We have green rope now, right? So here's my 2 pieces of a green rope for my stem of my shamrock. And now I just need to attach those to the little shamrock. So that's what I'm going to do. I've got them fairly dry. I think dry enough to glue them down. So I'm just going to glue those down. Now, the only parts of the shamrock at this point that really aren't green are like the little places in between the different heart pans there that you see. And my camera did turn itself off here, but what I'm going to do is just kind of patch in those areas with a little bit more Spanish moss just to kind of make it look more cohesive. I just put a little hot glue down in those cracks and then put a little bit of that reindeer moss down in there. And I also glued the reindeer moss in the seam between the ropes just to kind of give it more of a natural feel, kind of peeking out like that. It's looking pretty cool. My son absolutely adored this project. He said it's my best St. Patrick's Day project I've ever done. So quite a compliment. And just trying to patch up any areas that I thought kind of needed a little bit of moss. Now I thought I would decorate it. If you don't do a coastal decor, you can totally leave as is. But since I do, I thought we would add some little sea creatures. I get these little tiny starfish on Amazon. They're available in my shop below. I'm going to use one of those, just hot gluing that to the stem. And then the rest of these are just the little tiny shells that are in the glass bottles from the Dollar Tree. I'm just going to glue a couple of them down like they kind of are stuck in the seaweed or the rope to kind of give me this cool mossy or seaweed shamrock. Super fun. I also kind of have a gap there, so I thought maybe I would glue another shell there. I'm not really going to do any shells in the leaves, but I kind of wanted to decorate the stem a little bit, just to add a little bit more character to this DIY. So that's how it's looking so far. I did want to do a hanger, so I'm going to cut some twine. This is that twine from Walmart. It's a little bit thicker. Doubling it up, pulling it through, kind of recreating the hanger that was on there before, and knotting that Gives me a nice coastal vibe hanger for it. Super cute. I thought about putting it on a wood round, but I kind of like the shape of it. I decided I wanted my hanger to be a little bit shorter, so I do tie it again, shortening the hanger a little bit. And then I was trying to decide, I wanted to do like some kind of a bow or something to finish it off. And I thought some of this mesh ribbon from the Dollar Tree would be perfect. This comes in several different colors, green, tan, white. This is the tan one. I just cut off a piece and tying it into a knot right in the middle. I think it looks like fishing net, so I love using this for coastal DIYs. That's all I'm going to do is tie a knot, and then I just kind of need to figure out where to attach it. I kind of want it to be like kind of a crazy bow. So I thought about putting it there, but I didn't really want to cover up the seashell. So I decided to put it right here at the base of my shamrock. I'm just going to glue that knot down in there on top of the rope. And then just kind of have one go down, one go to the side. And that is the final touch to this DIY. So this is a really fun project if you have any of the galvanized metal hearts. And you could also use like the little wood bead hearts. I was thinking about that this year. Take 3 of those, put those together and make a shamrock. Really cute. I love the contrast of like the metal and the reindeer moss on this one. Really fun, and this looks really cute hanging on my wall. For the next Dollar Tree St. Patrick's Day DIY, I picked up this little tinsel leprechaun hat. He's like potted in a little pot here with like some gold coins. I think it's a great structure, a cage. That's basically what I want it for. So the top just pops off and I just remove all of the tinsel. Super easy, and it's gonna leave me like with a cage underneath that I can do something a little bit more my style. The only one that was kind of hard to get off was the gold coins down here. I did have to cut it in a couple areas, and if you notice, most of these cages do pop apart like this when you go to take them apart, so don't freak out or anything. It's not broken, and we're going to be wrapping this with rope, and that'll help keep it together, but I did put a little hot glue here on all of the tabs and put it back together. That way it won't fall apart while I'm crafting, and that will make it a little bit easier. Now, I've seen like different leprechaun hats wrapped in twine. I thought it might be a little easier to use some of the thinner rope from Dollar Tree instead of the twine, but you could do twine. You're just going to have to be wrapping a lot more. I just have some scrap pieces of this thinner rope from the Dollar Tree. I noticed I was completely out, and I was glad to find that you can order this by the case. I ordered a case of the thinner because I have tons of the thick rope, because you never know what you're going to find at your store, right? And you get free shipping to store. You can always use my Dollar Tree link in the description of the video if you want to order online. But if you use a lot of rope for crafting, like I do, I think a case is definitely the way to go. And I won't have to use scrap pieces like I did here. I just started at the top and started hot gluing in a spiral fashion, and we're just going to keep going until I run out of rope. Again, I only had a few pieces of scrap pieces, so I'm going to have to start and stop a lot. But you know what? In the end, you really can't tell. So this is how long my first piece was. I'm just going to make sure I have something to kind of hot glue that into. And then make sure you take the tape off of this and then start again. And you're going to want it not to be frayed or anything like that if you need to cut the ends of them too sometimes. So you have a nice clean rope to start, and you can kind of blend that in. I tried to make all of my seams on the same side of my little leprechaun hat. That way it will make it look a little bit better. Now when you get down here to the brim of the hat, I added just a little bit more hot glue to those areas, and this is how long my second piece is. Luckily it had a transition right here, the same place where my first rope transitioned, and I'm going to start with my third piece of scrap rope. Now I just had a project where I made like a giant sunflower for a bee DIY where I used all the rest of my scrap rope like this. So I've actually went through all of my scrap rope, so that's great. I had a lot of it. Here at the bottom, I'm just going to keep going as long as my piece of rope is, because I don't really want the bottom to look plastic like that. I want to cover any part of that cage that you're going to be able to see in the final project. And we're not going to leave this brown rope. We're actually going to paint this rope. And I wanted to use the brown rope because I think when we paint it, we can kind of make it look like moss is what I was going for. Because it's kind of fuzzy and stuff. It's a little bit too fuzzy though, so I do take my lighter and try to burn off some of the major stuff. I like a little bit of the fuzz, but I didn't want any of the little sticks and different things that come out of this Dollar Tree rope sometimes. I wanted to clean it up a little bit so it'd be easier to paint. To paint it, I had two different colors of green. I had leaf green and Christmas green. Now, they're very different colors of green. I wasn't sure about the Christmas green color, but what I'm going to do is mix them together. So each time I go to paint this, I just put my brush in both colors and kind of mix it on the rope. That's going to give it a little bit of variation in color as opposed to mixing it before. And I started at the very bottom to kind of see if I liked it before I went over the entire hat. You're going to have to use a brush because you need to get down into those individual little rope fibers. And as you can see, the two colors are mixing pretty well on there. I was a little opposed to that Christmas green color, but it kind of grew on me the more it went along because, you know, St. Patrick's Day is supposed to be bright green, so that's fine. But I like the combination with the leaf green in there too because I think it gives it a little bit more variety in color. And I want it to look like it's wrapped like in this green rope, not necessarily the brown rope. And I was hoping to kind of get a mossy feel out of it in the end, and it does kind of give you that feel. So I'm just kind of touching it up, adding a little bit more of the leaf green here on top because a lot of the Christmas green was coming through and not a lot of the softer light green. So I just kind of distress it, I guess, all over with some of the leaf green to brighten it up just a little bit. Now, I did get the rope really wet. I did find that it did take a while to dry for sure. I just kind of started it with my heat gun and then kind of let it sit while I did other projects with this DIY. I did have a lot of string still hanging out, so I gave it a quick trim. Now for this part of the project, I'm just going to take some twine and kind of string it up through the cage, tie it off, and then just use the twine to wrap around the stem of this, just really easy. And it's going to give it a nice feel, the rope and the twine and stuff like that. This was a lot easier to wrap with the skinnier twine like this because it was such a small area. Basically just spin it around, do one layer of twine. And then when I got to the bottom, I just kind of tied that off. As you can see, I was getting paint on myself because that rope definitely was wet. So it does definitely take some time to dry, but I needed to get this DIY done. So I kind of kept crafting with it as I went. Now that looks pretty good. The pot is the next item that we need to decorate. I thought burlap would look really good on this. And so I'm just using some of that burlap roll from the Dollar Tree. You could always use a larger piece, kind of cut it down to size. This has a finished edge there, so I was going to take advantage of that. I just wrap it around. Now it is, you know, smaller on the bottom than the top, so I have to try to keep it taut here and kind of pull it almost a little bit at an angle. I just slightly overlap the burlap here in the back, and we're going to attach it with hot glue, trying to keep to the shape of the little pot without really messing with the top of it too much. I want that to be nice and flat. Now it is a little bit taller than our pot. I don't necessarily want to cut it. I don't want any burlap fraying. So I just used hot glue and kind of glued that to the very bottom, just kind of working one piece at a time. And it made it look almost like it was a burlap bag planter, which looks really cute for this DIY. Now, one thing about this was a Tinsel project, so it was definitely not very heavy duty. So I am going to be adding some rocks to the bottom of that to weigh it down a little bit. This is what my painted rope looks like so far. It's still kind of wet, but I thought it was going to be definitely too top heavy. So I just put some extra pebbles that I have from the Dollar Tree in the bottom just to weigh that down before I pop that back in. I'm also going to use a little bit of hot glue to help keep that in there, because it kind of pops in, but not really clicking or anything like that. Then I'm going to go in with some of the brown floral moss here to fill this up. We're going to fill this up with coins, like, you know, before it had tinsel coins, but this time we're going to use some of those gold coins from the Dollar Tree. Some definitely larger ones, but I think it's going to look really cute. And I thought that the brown floral moss would look nice with this, but you could always use reindeer moss or something like that too, if that's all that you had. I just attached that with hot glue, completely covering that plastic cage. You can't see any of the plastic cage at this point. And these are the coins that I was talking about. They are plastic, but they actually look pretty nice. Like the gold on them is nice, and they have little 4-leaf clovers on there. I'm just going to attach them to the floral moss with a little bit of hot glue, kind of scattering those all over, overlapping it, making like it's full of gold. We're almost done with this project. Just a few more ideas to make this extra special. I really love how this turned out. It just has so many fun details. Now the next thing we need to do is do like the little strap and buckle here on the leprechaun hat. I'm going to use the burlap roll again, but this time I'm going to cut out a thinner piece of burlap, making sure it looks a little bit frayed and stuff too, pulling out a string or two here at the end. And it doesn't have to be very thick because this is not a very large little hat, but just a piece that's going to be long enough to go all the way around. And then I also want to add a little buckle to this too, but I want to keep with that rope burlap feel. So I think that looks really cute. And I love the little touch of gold that we have with the gold coins. I'm also going to be adding a gold buckle to this because it's St. Patrick's Day. We can't have enough gold, even though it is like natural elements like the burlap and the rope. I'm going to use some of the gold glitter scrapbook paper from the Dollar Tree to replace the buckle. I'm going to use the one that came on it as a reference. I didn't really like it. It was very foil looking and cheap looking, and I thought that the gold glitter scrapbook paper would look a little bit better. I just used it for reference, cut it down to size. I just need a little rectangle, and then you just kind of have to fold it in half to get to the middle to be able to cut down the inside of the buckle. And I just cut that out and then trimmed it up to kind of make my edges a little bit more even because they were a little bit crazy there to begin with. But I didn't want any cuts on the buckle. I wanted it to be one piece like this. And now we can attach it. As you can see, it's not real obnoxious. It is gold glitter, but I think it looks really cute. I'm just going to add a couple dots of hot glue here on the back of that and add that to our little leprechaun hat. Now I thought one more detail really might make it special. The little burlap planter is a little bit plain here. And I get these little craft kits from the Dollar Tree. Again, they don't have a lot of St. Patrick's Day items, but they do have these like little craft kits where you can pick them up and get little supplies like this, like a green felt shamrock. I thought this would be perfect. It's not too crazy or anything like that. And it's the perfect size. So I just attach it with a couple dots of hot glue here on the burlap. And I think this is the perfect finishing touch for our little leprechaun hat. Isn't this cute? You could use this on its own. That's how I'm going to use it for decor. Or you could also use this maybe for a tier tray. But just wrapping the little leprechaun hat in the rope, I think made this look so cute. And painting it green is a really fun surprise. Lots of fun details. We've got the little gold coins down here in the pot. And of course, I love all the little touches of burlap as well. This was a really fun DIY to make for St. Patrick's Day. What do you guys think about this one? Now, the next one, I picked up one of these glitter foam shamrocks from the Dollar Tree. And I'm not a fan of the glitter, but I thought it would be really cute to try to make this a Moss Shamrock display for St. Patrick's Day. So I picked up a little stand from the Dollar Tree as well. This one kind of had a really cool stain on it as well. So I took advantage of that. And then I picked up two different kinds of reindeer moss at Dollar Tree because they're different colors, as you can see. One's way more green and one's way more brown. I wanted two different kinds of reindeer moss because I kind of wanted it to look clumpy, where there was like different kinds of moss mixed together. I kind of like that vibe, but if you want to do yours all with the same color, I'm sure that would look really good as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and dump those out, kind of breaking them apart into some smaller pieces. And we are just going to simply cover the green glitter foam with the moss. So just one piece at a time. I am going to hot glue the moss onto the glitter. The glitter kind of protected the foam a little bit. It really wasn't melting from the hot glue that I normally see from that. But I am going to have to do a fairly heavy coat of moss to cover up all that glitter. I guess you could have painted it first if you wanted to. But I thought I could do a pretty good job of covering it all up. So as you can see, I'm kind of alternating. I did like the bright green, the brown, the bright green, and the brown. and just finish off the stem of this first. And then we're just going to do one section at a time. I just wanted to keep alternating the two different kinds of moss so it would look kind of random. And right now I'm just gluing to the very top part, anything that's going to be kind of visible there from the top. And even though this was a really easy St. Patrick's Day DIY, this one was probably the most time-consuming one today, just because you had to kind of glue all this moss on one piece at a time. So this is the first little heart shape of our little shamrock, and we're going to speed this way up just because this part was definitely a little bit more time-consuming. But basically, I want to cover all of the shamrock that you're going to be able to see. I want to make this like a standing shamrock display for St. Patrick's Day, and it turned out so cute. But I don't want you to be able to see any of the glitter, so I'll show you how I kind of mask all that. So just one piece at a time, just alternating my colors. And trying to cover as much as I can with this first row of moss until I go all the way around. Now, you can still see the glitter on the outside of the shamrock and on the inside of the shamrock. So we're going to have to add more moss to both of those, so you can't really see it from the front. You could also add moss to the back. I chose not to, but if you had plenty of moss and time, you totally could do that. But that's what it looks like so far. It's looking cute, but still you can see that glitter. So we're going to have to go in here, and I just started at the stem again, kind of one piece at a time, and just start hot gluing that again all the way around. And I don't want to make like my moss pieces too thick. I am going to trim it up here in the end to try to make sure it still has that perfect like shamrock look. But I thought this turned out really cool with the moss on the shamrock. I have DIY'd these before. I have made a coastal shamrock with this by covering the whole thing in Dollar Tree sand glued on. And that turned out really cute. It kind of gave me the display or the idea of displaying this one on a little pedestal like I did before. But the moss look totally goes with St. Patrick's Day, totally kind of goes with the Irish vibe. And so I just keep gluing more moss on here. Definitely making sure to use my finger protector because I'm using a lot of hot glue here. Don't want to burn myself. Now, if you're happy with that amount of coverage, you could stop there. I'm not a big fan of the glitter on this for sure, so I wanted to make sure that you couldn't see any at all, and I thought you could still see, you know, like the row on the inside. So after I got the front and the sides done, I do go in and add more moss to the inside to make sure that you can't see any of the glitter from the front. So I kind of flipped it around to kind of do it from the back just because I thought it would be a little bit easier to see. And I'm still working on those same 2 bags of moss that I started with. It goes further than you think because this project is really not that small, but I had plenty with the 2 packages together to cover this completely with moss. And again, if you wanted to do like all the same color, I'm sure that would look really good too. But I kind of wanted to try out like different kinds of moss this time, kind of give it that patchy moss look. I think that looks pretty cool. So just one section at a time, I'm filling on the inside, and I don't really have enough left to do the back of mine or the time, so I'm just going to leave it like that. But again, you could always moss the back of yours as well, kind of to make it a more finished project. Now I've got it all covered in moss. It's looking pretty cool. It's looking a little wild though, so I do go in with my scissors and kind of just give it a quick trim, trim up any of the moss pieces that are kind of sticking out a little bit significant. Want to try to clean up any like glue strings and stuff since I used so much hot glue with that. And I really kind of want to make sure that I don't have any areas where you can really see the glitter shining through the moss. And I think I did a pretty good job of covering that up. Now I used a little foam pool noodle knife to cut off the very base just to make it super flat back there. And then this was the little wood sign that I got from Dollar Tree to use as the base. Isn't that a really cool stain? I was going to use burlap on something, but I really liked the vibe of this. And I'm just going to give it a quick sand to get off any splinters from the side of this, but otherwise, the base is ready to go. Now, for a little bit more stability, I tried to find some of the largest nails that I have from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to go ahead and choose 2 of those. I'm going to drive those in the bottom of this so they will be sticking upright, and then I can actually attach those to the foam shamrock on the inside to help hold this up. So I'm just going to do the 2 nails side by side so they will fit in the base. It's not too wide there. And flip it over and drive the nails all the way through. So this is how mine looks. I'm just going to straighten them out a little bit. And then I'm also going to add hot glue. It's going to be a combination of the nails and the hot glue, holding the little shamrock on the base. And then I'm just going to layer that on there, trying to make sure that I get it on there centered and straight. And I think this turned out really cute. It was definitely not hard, just a little time consuming with all of the moss that I had to attach. But I think it looks really cool for St. Patrick's Day. The Dollar Tree moss is always really fun to craft with. And I think it's a perfect crafting material for St. Patrick's Day because it's lush and greenery but also just the green color for the shamrock. But I think this looks so much better than the glitter shamrock. And this was another really fun St. Patrick's Day Dollar Tree DIY. I love the little wood base on that one as well. Okay, our next DIY, check out these new signs from the Dollar Tree, from the Crafter Square. They're like a whitewash wood. They have like a groove between the different like slats of the board. I kind of wanted like a rectangular sign for this one. And so I wanted something big enough for this. I got this little mossy shamrock at the Target dollar spot for $5. Super cute. The other version they have is the little leprechaun hat that I used on my St. Patrick's Day coffee bar. And I kind of wanted a background sign for that. So I'm going to use 2 of those Dollar Tree signs. I'm just going to cut them down to size because I don't need it to be quite so long for this project. So just laying my shamrock on top, kind of figuring out how big I want them. And then I'm just going to take these off to my saw and cut these down. I have, a lot of you guys have asked what kind of saw I have. I have a Ryobi miter saw that's like a sliding one. Super easy to cut stuff down. Now I kind of want there to be a groove between the 2 signs. So instead of gluing them directly together, I'm going to leave a little bit of a gap in between them. That way it'll kind of continue that like wood slat pattern. I think it's going to give it a nice coastal background sign. Now to connect them together, I'm just going to use some popsicle sticks from the Dollar Tree. I think that's going to work fine. And then just glue them together. I think 3 popsicle sticks should be plenty, and I'm just going to hot glue the back of the sign and lay 1 in the middle, and then I'll do 1 on each side. You can kind of see the wood through there a little bit, but it's not real obvious. But I think it looks better than putting them side by side. They have these new signs in like brown wood, black, this whitewash, white. They're so pretty. I love them. What a great background. So that's going to be a great background piece for our little mossy shamrock. And then I was trying to think of something like coastal and fun I could do for this. And I decided it'd be really cool to make the background of the shamrock be sand. And then I can do like a little carving in the sand, like you would kind of write letters in the sand when you're at the beach. So I'm just taking a Sharpie and going around like the inside of where the shamrock will be, so I'll know exactly how much sand that I need to add to the sign, only to make the background of the shamrock sand, if you know what I mean. So I'm just going to use school glue and some of this brown sand from the Dollar Tree. I thought the brown would be better than the white because the white would kind of blend in with this sign. And then I'm just going to use a small paintbrush from the Dollar Tree and just start painting that school glue on exactly where I want the sand to be. I want to like kind of go just outside the borders that I painted on there so that you won't really be able to see any gaps. But I also don't want it to be underneath where I'm going to attach the mossy shamrock to it because I want the glue to be able to stick that mossy shamrock down to the wood sign. So it's kind of a shamrock shape, kind of a weird shamrock shape by just painting the inside. Once I get the school glue on there, I am just going to open up my sand from the Dollar Tree and start sprinkling that on, doing a nice thin coat. I love working with sand projects. I think they're so fun and they're pretty easy to do. You just got to make sure that you put something down first so you don't make a huge mess with the sand, but just kind of shaking that and you can kind of see that the shape that it's taking. I should have put something down first, but I'm putting down a cutting board now from the Dollar Tree. And that's kind of the shape that we're left with. I'm also going to secure it even more using some of the spray glue from the Dollar Tree. I kind of need more of this, and I've been having trouble finding this. Sometimes they have it in the school supply section, and sometimes they have it in the crafter square, but for some reason, my Dollar Trees have not been carrying that for the last few months. I'm not sure why. So I also just sprinkle on some more sand to kind of give a thicker coat. This is just the sand that came off when I shook it before. And then I'm going to give it a good dry to make sure that it is going to stay put. Now we can kind of piece it back together by putting the little mossy shamrock on top. And now you can kind of see what I meant by having the sand background. You kind of have to line it up just right. But I love these St. Patrick's Day decorations from the dollar spot at Target. So cute. And if you wanted to use supplies from the Dollar Tree, you could probably recreate something pretty similar. I'm going to do a bead of hot glue all around the edges of the sand shamrock and then glue the mossy shamrock down. So cute. I got it lined up pretty much perfectly. I am going to spray a little bit more adhesive down, sprinkle a little bit of sand here in the corners just to make sure that I got it good and tight. But totally doesn't have to be perfect, but usually the more glue that you use, the better, because this is going to be, hanging on the wall. I don't want any of the sand falling off. Now, I want to carve like you wrote like a word in the sand at the beach. So just flipping over my paintbrush, I'm just going to use the end of my paintbrush. And while it's still a little bit damp, I'm just going to sketch my word in there. I'm going to have it just say lucky. I thought about doing like a printed letter lucky, but I thought it might be easier to pull off if I kind of do like a cursive script. And so that's what I'm going to do because that way I don't really have to worry about the spacing of the letters or anything like that. And so I'm just going to do like a lucky, like in cursive, like a script. If you do find that you have like some sand on the end of your paintbrush, you can just wipe that off. You're trying to get that part of the sand out. I kind of wish I would have painted that part like a little bit deeper tan before I would have done that to kind of give it that like wetter sand look that it looks like when you carve in the sand at the beach. But good enough. I'm just going to give that a quick dry here to try to keep everything in place. And you can always touch it up if you find that there's a little bit of sand in any of the places that shouldn't be. Now, I wanted to frame this out. I didn't want to do the rope border on this one. I thought we could do something else, and I wanted to do something coastal as well. So I'm going to do a shell border on this one. I thought that'd be really fun. So I'm going to use the Dollar Tree shells. I really like these shells. This is the one I'm talking about when I say they come in the little glass bottles. I like to pour mine out in those little toy organizers from the Dollar Tree to keep them organized, and they're easier to get out than they are from getting them out of that little tiny bottle. But it's kind of a medium-sized shell, so I'm going to use that, I think, to border out the top and the bottom. Now, before I get any further, I thought I better go ahead and do a hanger now. Probably should have done that before I even attached the sand or anything else, but we're just going to flip it over and I'm just going to use some thick twine from Walmart. I'm going to tie a knot in each end. Just do a really simple hanger. This is really not very heavy. I think this is going to stay on just fine. And I'm just going to hot glue that to the back, trying to center it so it will hang straight. And the only reason that I knotted it was just to kind of give me more surface to glue to the back of these signs. But I love these signs from the Dollar Tree. They are really coming out with some really cute blanks like this at the Dollar Tree. I'm really excited about them. So we have a hanger now. So now we can go back to that shell border. So I'm just going to kind of glue one of these shells on each one of the boards, just by doing a dot of hot glue on the bottom part of the shell. I'm also going to do them all kind of in the same direction, so they're all kind of pointing the same way. I'm going to do that on the top and the bottom of the sign because I have plenty of room for like a medium-sized shell like this. So I'm going to do the same thing here on the bottom, having them kind of pointing the same direction that I had them on the top, and just do another row of those shells. I love decorating with those. Those are one of my favorite shells from the Dollar Tree. And I don't think I have enough room to do them down the sides. So I thought I would just switch to a smaller shell, one of these little tiny ones, and kind of do those down the sides since I don't have a lot of room because I have the sides of the shamrock there. So I'm just going to kind of fit those in, just kind of working my way down, again, kind of working in the same direction. It just gives a fun little framed out look to this sign and adds a little bit more detail. But I totally love these signs. Very, very cute. And I love that little mossy shamrock. So fun. This is the first time I've ever tried to do the like carving into the sand, but that was really fun as well. Next time, if I were to do it again, I definitely would have probably painted that tan behind it before I put the glue down, just to add a little bit more contrast, but at least the white is a different color than the sand. So I'm going to do the same thing here on the other side, just gluing at the lip of one of the shells down and just kind of filling it in. It's not going to be totally symmetrical because one side's higher than the other, but that looks pretty good. Just trying to clean up any excess hot glue. And we have our little lucky sand shamrock. I think this turned out really cute. I love the fact that we brought like the coastal into the St. Patrick's Day on this one with the lucky written in the sand. Really fun way to use one of those little mossy shamrocks from the Target dollar spot. I think those would be easy enough to DIY as well, with maybe some cardboard and some Dollar Tree moss. We're going to be doing a St. Patrick's Day tier tray. This is my favorite St. Patrick's Day tier tray that I've made. It has a greenery theme, and the tier tray we're going to be doing today is my white rectangular tier tray that I got on Amazon. So this is some greenery that I got at Dollar Tree. I think it's really pretty, and I have it left over from another project I was using it for. I think this is going to be perfect. It's a little bit shorter than it comes, but I think it's going to be great for the top of my tier tray. I'm just going to wrap it around to get started. I do want it to hang over the sides a little bit, give a little bit of cascading vines in the design. I think that will be pretty. And then up next, I found this great little lucky horseshoe at Dollar Tree. It's really cute. At first, I was thinking about painting the galvanized metal on there, but then I decided against it. It's a little tricky to paint those, and I thought I just wanted a little bit of color. So I'm just going to take some of the little clover from Dollar Tree for St. Patrick's Day, and I'm just going to attach it to the galvanized metal little clover that's on there just by gluing it on, just to provide a little bit of color. I like the wood, I like the metal, and I think this is going to be a really nice piece for the top of the tier tray. And it's got a little greenery on it, so it's going to go with our theme. And it's a nice taller piece that I can put here on the very back of my top tier where you can see it. Very cute for St. Patrick's Day. Now, the next item, I just found this in the spring section. It's called a Fairy Garden Forest, but they had these in the new spring section at Dollar Tree with her fairy garden stuff, and I thought this would be the perfect little leprechaun house. So I'm just going to use a little paint and give it a St. Patrick's Day makeover. I'm going to use this leaf green acrylic paint, and basically what I want to do is just paint the little pink flowers and the leaves that are on the front of the house to kind of give them more of a shamrock feel than a flower feel. It's already got like the greenery on the roof of the house. And I think that looks really cute. And I think it's just the right size for a little leprechaun to live in for my tier tray. Now, the welcome is already in gold above the door, but I thought it would look even more fun for St. Patrick's Day if I were to paint it gold. So I'm just taking some acrylic paint in metallic gold and nothing crazy. I'm just going over the yellow with the gold to kind of give it that gold sparkle that's fun for St. Patrick's Day. And that's pretty much it. Otherwise, I think it's perfect. And it'll make a perfect piece to go over here. I'm going to wrap that Dollar Tree greenery around it to kind of make it look like it's a little bit wooded. And our little leprechaun can live in that cute little fairy garden house. I think that is really sweet and a fun little touch to add in. Not necessarily St. Patrick's Day, but with the spring theme. And I was really excited to see Target Dollar Spot offering these little tier tray pieces individually this year. I got this for $1. They had them instead of the multi tray packs that they've been having the last couple of years. They had them individually like this, and I love it because you can pick exactly what you want. So I got this cute little leprechaun, and I'm going to put him right on top. It's a nice little chunky wood sign. He's perfect. I don't have to do anything to him. I just have like the greenery going around him. And then this is another piece I found at the Target Dollar Spot for only $1, so cheaper than the Dollar Tree. A little clover patch, pot of gold, Irish kisses, like directional arrow sign, and I thought that'd be really cute as well. Mine had a little bit of a chip in it, so I'm just gonna give that a quick touch up with a paint pen, and this cute little sign is ready to go. So definitely check your Target Dollar Spot. I noticed at my store, these things go fast. Everybody wants to decorate their tier trays for St. Patrick's Day. So for filler, I thought I would use just some of these little shamrock greenery from Dollar Tree. This one's got like the two different shades of green with a little bit of gold glitter on it. And I just pulled off the little individual clovers. And I'm just going to kind of scatter them around until the top of the tier tray is completely full. And that was a really easy design to do up top. And we're going to continue this greenery theme down on the bottom. So I have some more of this greenery that I picked up at Dollar Tree. Again, I think it's really pretty. It can be anything as long as it's green. And I'm just going to spread this one out. This is a little bit of a longer piece than I had on the top. And I just kind of wrap it around the back, bringing it around kind of in a U shape so I can wrap it around the pieces that we're going to add down there to the bottom. Now, this is from the Dollar Tree. I just picked this up at Dollar Tree. It is a gold glitter shamrock, and look how pretty it is. I really don't have to do anything to it, and I did want to add a little bit of gold, so I'm going to put that right back here in the back. Let that glitter away back there. And then this is another Target Dollar Spot piece that I found for $1 at Target Dollar Spot. A little chunky pot of gold. And I'm going to put that maybe back here, but a little bit to the side so you still can kind of see it, just as another filler piece for the tier tray. Now, since we're doing greenery, I wanted to use a little bit more greenery. I found this one actually on clearance at Target. They're normally $5. They do go on sale. It's just cheap greenery. It doesn't really matter what it is. It has a plain white plastic pot. And so I'm just going to give it a little touch of St. Patrick's Day by using some of the Dollar Tree St. Patrick's Day window decals, just a little shamrock to put on the front. Otherwise, I think it's perfect. Now, since it's plastic, it didn't really want to stick to it like it would if this was like a glass pot. So I am going to have to do just a very thin coat of Mod Podge on the back of the window cling to make that stick. I didn't want to do anything crazy because I do want to be able to remove that to use that greenery for other seasons as well. But another very easy DIY. And it's a nice tall piece, so we're going to put this right back here We also have that greenery from the Dollar Tree kind of wrapped around it, and it gives it a little bit more of a green touch. I love this theme for St. Patrick's Day. I think it turned out so pretty. Now, the next piece I found at Dollar Tree, it's a little green truck with rainbows and stuff in the back. I want it to look a little bit more farmhouse, and so I don't want the bright rainbow and stuff in the back. And so I'm actually going to use some of this greenery I got at the Target dollar spot. You get two of these together for $5, and I thought they kind of looked like clover, right? They've had these in the past at Target dollar spot. I always try to pick them up because they're so versatile. You can do so many different things with them. I'm just going to flip mine over and sketch out how much I need. And then I can cut out like just a little half circle piece of the greenery. And I can have like a load of shamrocks in the back of the little green truck instead of all the bright colors and stuff like that. Now, if you can't find these little tiles like this at Target Dollar Spot, it would be easy to do. If you can find any kind of greenery with like a small leaf like this, like a boxwood or something like that, it's going to give you the feel of shamrocks. And that's what I was going for. As you can see, they have like little heart-shaped leaves, so they're not necessarily shamrocks, but they definitely give you that feel. Now you could kind of see through it and you could see the rainbow and all this stuff back here, all the busyness I was trying to get rid of. So I'm just going to go over all of that with some Christmas green acrylic paint. It's pretty close to the same color as the truck, but just one coat of that to mask that. So when I attach the greenery to the back of the truck, you won't be able to see that through. You'll just kind of have a green background. And check out my new heat gun. I know my last video I was telling you guys my heat gun bit the dust, so I upgraded to this model. And this is the first time I've used it. I will let you know what I think about it. I've been having really bad luck with my heat guns from Amazon. But this one worked great for today. And I'm just going to go ahead and hot glue this on and just mold it to fit exactly where I want it. I want it just to look like an entire truckload of shamrocks, give that feel. So I'm going to go in, trim it, and then glue some of the extra pieces here at the top, cleaning up any excess hot glue and just clean it up a little bit to get exactly the look I'm going for. But I'm glad I switched it up. I think the truck looks really cute with the greenery in the back of it. What do you guys think about this one? I really like it, so it's gonna kind of be the star of the show. We're gonna put it right up here in front. It goes great with the greenery theme for St. Patrick's Day for this tier tray. And of course, it stands up on its own. It's a nice chunky sign from the Dollar Tree, and I think a great value for $1.25. Now, the next DIY, I'm just going to use one of these little plastic pot of gold, or I guess pots from the St. Patrick's aisle at Dollar Tree. And instead of pot of gold, I'm actually going to do a pot of shamrocks. So again, I'm going to be using that same piece of greenery from the Target dollar spot. And I'm just going to cut down like a square a little bit bigger than the little pot itself. Again, I want it to all be attached. I'm just going to cut off some of these excess pieces and corner pieces to make it a little bit smaller to make it fit in there. And then I'm just going to kind of bend it like in a ball shape and put it down in there, and just a quick easy way to make it look like a full pot of shamrocks for St. Patrick's Day. It definitely goes with the theme, and I think it makes it look a little bit more high end than like the plastic gold coins and stuff like that that you can put in it. So we're going to put this in the front. It's a nice smaller little pot, and we can have a little pot of clover. Then for filler, again, I'm going to be using some of the Dollar Tree clover and just scatter these around wherever I have an opening or somewhere where you'd be able to kind of see one. I'm just going to lay them, layering them with the greenery, like the vine greenery that I already had in there. And this was such an easy tier tray to put together. It really did not take me very much time at all. Just a few pieces from the Dollar Tree and the dollar spot, honestly. Now, for the more filler, of course, I wanted a little bit more gold, and so I picked up some of these gold coins from Dollar Tree, and we're going to scatter those around as well. I thought it'd be a fun little contrast against the greenery to kind of tuck them in here and there. Since I already have a little bit of gold with that shamrock back there, you can even lay them in your greenery like that. It's a little fun touch. And I use those to fill out the bottom. And this is how it turned out, our little greenery themed tier tray for St. Patrick's Day. And I always love switching out my tier trays for every season. St. Patrick's Day can be a really fun one, especially if you bring in a lot of greenery. And you can use some of the items like the little fairy garden house, really cute. If you can find some little items from the Target dollar spot, that is always great. I found that great little horseshoe, which is really fun there for St. Patrick's Day, but I love all the greenery on this one. That is probably my favorite part. Down here on the bottom of the tier tray, we have more greenery. We have a little pot of gold. We've got gold coins scattered over all over with the greenery, and of course the little truck here filled with shamrocks in the back. Don't forget the little gold glitter shamrock back there, super cute. And just filling this in with items that I could find, but I think I was able to make them really all work well together. And this is it, our little greenery themed St. Patrick's Day tier tray. I have this here in the corner of my kitchen, and I think it turned out so fun. What do you guys think about this one? I love it. And I just did another St. Patrick's Day tier tray as well in my previous St. Patrick's Day video where I did a rainbow theme for a tier tray. So that is a really fun theme as well. Now it's time for the final reveal. Let me know which St. Patrick's Day Dollar Tree DIY today was your favorite down in the comments below, or just come say hello. This is my QR code. If you would like to scan it with your phone, you can buy me a coffee. I would really appreciate it. And you can find me at Crafty Beach on YouTube on all social media.
I'm walking down the street on clouds instead of the concrete I'm dancing through. Everything's about to come my way. Nothing can ruin my day, no matter what anyone does or say. I smile at fools. No, I don't care, cause I am on my way up, and I won't stop, I won't slow down. Steady on my feet, I'm gonna rise up. No, I won't stop, it is my time. I know what it's like to be broke. I know what it's like when nothing goes your way. So I'm gonna let myself enjoy the fruit from this lucky day. Yeah, I am on my way up, I won't slow down. Yeah, I am on my way up, I won't slow down. I'm strolling down the street with all of my favorite songs on repeat. I'm dancing through. Everything's about to come my way, and I don't care if you spill coffee on me or if the sky is gray or blue. No, I don't care, cause I am on my way up, and I won't stop, I won't slow down. Steady on my feet, I'm gonna rise up. No, I won't stop, it is my time. I know what it's like to be broke, yeah. And I know what it's like when nothing goes your way. So I'm gonna let myself enjoy the fruit from this lucky day. Yeah, I am on my way up, I won't slow down. Yeah, I am on my way up, I won't slow down. Like to be broken, and I know what it's like when nothing goes your way. So I'm just gonna let myself enjoy the fruit from this lucky day. Yeah, I am on my way up, I won't slow down, cause I am on my way up, I won't slow down. I am on my way. I won't slow down. I am on my way. I won't slow down.
Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of today's St. Patrick's Day crafting marathon. That helps my videos so much. And I'd also like to thank all of my YouTube members for supporting my channel. Thank you to Jamie Job, Janae Farrington, Amelia Wren, Donna Schreiner, I Am Mojo Jojo, Marin Christensen, Adrian Brolt, Debbie Middleton, Red Mama, Pal Puppy Life, Renee Albanese, Jenny, Debbie Austin, James Osborne, and Lizette Thomas. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. If you too would like early and ad-free access to my content here on YouTube, be sure to join the membership. And if you would like more crafting ideas, be sure to check out one of these videos right here. Until next time, happy crafting for St. Patrick's Day.